We are going to begin the funeral service for Mrs. Brenda W. Terry. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it in a silent mode at this time or turn it completely off. I'd also like to welcome anybody via live stream on behalf of the family. Thank you for attending as well. Services will be conducted by Cantor Jennifer Frost of Congregation B'nai Jehoshua Beth Elohim in Deerfield. I knew that. Deerfield, sorry. Formerly Glenview. She's going to start with the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya.
Esain ayel harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Asa'enai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Proverbs says, a woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and in dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you, Brenda, you excel them all. I am so sorry for your loss. We sat the other day and you shared such beautiful memories and words. And I can think of no truer statement than what we just read from Proverbs. You all rose up to bless her, and she was filled with tremendous graciousness, generosity, and love, and extended her hands out to the world in such a profound way. And so we say with Kohelet, the eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearn for yet another respite from the final summons, and how we yearn to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, another precious moment together. God, be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this hour. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until their time of healing. We are an ancient people, and we are well acquainted with grief in the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow, they are not strangers to us, yet centuries have taught us that a good name endures. It endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. And so we say now, Adonai Natan, God, you have given us a loved one in Brenda who will not be forgotten. And for all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer you the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai Lakach, God, you have taken away. And so we pray now that we turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge you, your sovereignty and love. As we say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mavarach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. Adonai Roi Lo Echsar Bino Deshayar Bitseni Alamei Menuchot Alamei Menuchot Yenaleini Nafshi Yeshovev Yeshovev Yancheini V'magilei Tzadak Yancheini V'magilei Tzadak Leman Shemo Gam ki elech בגית צל מוות לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, אדוני רואי לא אחסר. Ecclesiastes wrote, "For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak." It does tremendous honor to those whom we have loved and lost when people who knew them the best and loved them so deeply rise up to sing their praises and speak words of love. So I'll invite first Jill to come forward and to share some memories and thoughts.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here today. What can I say about my mom, my mentor, my friend? My life going forward will never be the same. For almost 61 years, every day of my life, I knew that I had her unconditional love and support. My mom was always there for me, whether I wanted her to be or not. I always knew that I could reach out to her anytime, day or night, and she would be there. She made me into the woman I am. She taught me right from wrong, how to be responsible, how to be a good friend and mother, and so many other things. She taught me that all people are to be treated equally, and that women are just as good as men. She was always on Team Jill and my biggest supporter. She would crack up at all the silly, nonsensical things I would say. She would think I was crazy, but she would laugh all the same. She called me her silly Jilly. She never ended a phone call without saying, "I love you." One amazing and notable thing about my mom is that she was able to find love 3 times in her life. Her third husband, Howard, was such a loving and devoted husband to her. We are and have always been so appreciative and lucky to have you, How, in our lives. We love you. She welcomed my husband, Rick, into the family the day she met him, and that continued always. She loved Ruth as if she were her own child. She was a lady who loved with her whole heart. My mom kept friends for a lifetime, and some of them are here now. She made sure each and every one of her grandchildren felt loved and special. She was an amazing role model to them. My mom didn't always have things easy. There were highs and lows in her life, just like for all of us. She was that mom who volunteered at school, went to every game, and schlepped us everywhere. We weren't a family that vacationed. For her, it was those times when it was important to be with our family in California. That was where we would always go. And you know what? It was fabulous. We had so many adventures with our cousins, Steve and Rob, Aunt Sandy, Uncle Otto, and the rest of the West Coast contingency. They were and continue to be a big part of our lives. In fact, California was so special to me that I chose to move out there when I graduated from college. Little did I know that I would end up meeting Rick, getting married, and would leave California for Rick's job. Again, life is full of unexpected. But what wasn't unexpected was that Mom was a regular presence in our lives, no matter where we lived. I knew that my mom was always so proud that Stan and I, Ruth and Rick, and our extended families were so close all these years, in spite of never living in the same state. She taught us that family is important, people are important. My mom was a dedicated social worker, which she worked very hard to become. She went back to school when we were she went back to college when we were in school full time. She earned her bachelor's degree and then her master's in social work. Coincidentally, so did I. I remember quite well one night, late on Cypress Lane, sitting in the dining room with my mom, working on my grad school applications. As I said earlier, this lady was my role model, my mentor, and she was always there for me. My mom was known for her flawless memory, and that's why these last few years were particularly difficult. We all noticed right away as she started not to remember this or that. This horrible disease slowly took her away from us, a fate that I would not wish on anyone. My mom always taught me to treat people right and be the best person and friend I could believe. I believe I have done this throughout my life. I always tried to make her proud of the woman I have become. I think if you ask my friends and family, they would agree. In turn, I hope that I've taught my daughters all these wonderful life qualities and lessons. I continue to strive to emulate my mom in all that I do. My mom was such a special person. It's my hope that you don't remember her for her disease and the toll it took over these last few years, but instead for her beautiful and loving soul, her infectious smile and laugh, her warm hugs and juicy kisses, her willing to do pretty much anything for anyone, and always being there. I love you, Mom, always and forever.
Stand.
I guess that I always knew that this day would come. "84.5 years is respectable," but it wasn't really 84.5 years. The last few years plus were just cruel. I wouldn't wish Alzheimer's on my worst enemy. Mom had an incredible mind. She was always sharp as a tack, with a ridiculous memory. Why was that quality which made her so unique chosen to be that which was stripped from her? I'll never know the answer to that one. It seems so unfair. Mom was a great mom when we were growing up. We were fortunate that she could be a stay-at-home mom. It's kind of crazy, the silly things that I remember about her. When I was a boy, I had to go into her bedroom to give her a kiss goodbye before I left for school. I wore a lot of button-down collars in those grade school days. She would reach up half asleep and button both sides of my collar before she kissed me goodbye. When we first moved to Northbrook in the late 60s, I was not immediately the most popular kid in the school. In fact, some of my classmates picked on me, and you know who you are. They made fun of me and they pushed me around on the playground, but that wasn't going to work in our house, no way. Mom was on the phone with their mothers, making sure that they knew what bullies their sons were. Of course, that only made things more difficult for me, but she didn't care. Nobody was going to bully her baby without their parents knowing about it. Friends always gathered at our house, whether we were playing football in the backyard, basketball or fast pitch on the driveway, line ball in the street, or just simply hanging out. Mom always made everybody feel welcome. Mom was an original. We stacked newspapers in our garage until there was no place left to stack them. Then we loaded up the station wagon and took them to the recycling center. We piled returnable pop bottles next to the newspapers until we couldn't. Then guess what? We loaded up the station wagon and took them to the recycling center. Recycling wasn't popular back then, but the environment was very important to Mom. She was an environmentalist before it was a thing. Mom may have invented Title IX. When Jill wanted to play basketball in junior high, Mom signed her up for the Park District League, the boys' league. There wasn't a girls' league, and they didn't have a, The Park District told her that her daughter couldn't play in the boys' league. What? Of course she can. If you don't have a girls' league and you don't have a co-ed league, then the boys' league would become co-ed. Did they really think that they could tell Mom what her child couldn't do? Before things got too ugly, the Northbrook Park District acquiesced, and Jill became the first and only girl in the boys' basketball league. The next year, Northbrook had a girls' basketball league. Mom was involved in the social action committee at the synagogue at BJBE. She was always sticking up for the people who were less fortunate, those who couldn't stick up for themselves. Our elected officials were important to Mom. She was a Democrat from the word go. I remember a basement filled with McGovern supporters when he was running for president. They were collating pamphlets to distribute around the neighborhoods and developing call lists. She wasn't sitting back and just hoping that her guy would be elected. She did what she could to try to get her candidates elected. Mom was also pretty good at stretching $1. If she could save a dime on one, she could save $1 on 10. We had to have shelves built in our basement. I'm not talking about a shelf or two, I'm talking about shelves. Some of the time this strategy paid off, but many times it didn't. Like when the food was past date before anybody ate it. Like when she didn't remember what she had on the shelves and she bought more. Like when we still had a lifetime supply of dog food even after our dog passed away. Like when we had a gross of maxi pads even after her hysterectomy. But those did come in handy when our basement flooded. It's a lot of good stuff, right? Wasn't always an easy road for her, though. Mom and Dad were high school sweethearts, Dad being a year older. He went off to college, she followed the next year. When they decided to get married, Mom dropped out, got a job to help support them while Dad was in school. He dropped out soon after and went to work in the family business, and then they started a family. Dad worked a lot. I mean, a lot. Monday through Friday, Mom was responsible for her 3 children. Dad was at work before we woke up, and often not home until just before we went to bed or even after we went to bed. And he was tired when he got home. Mom was our babysitter, our chauffeur, our cook, our advisor, our confidant. She did it all. I played a lot of sports growing up, and she never missed a game. I was involved in music and theater, and she never missed a performance. I took organ lessons, and she never missed a recital. And she wasn't quiet. She wasn't the quiet, sit on her hands, casual observer. I can still hear her hands cupped over her mouth yelling, "Way to go!" whenever I did something even close to right. You want to know how to define unconditional love and support? Asked me to describe what it was like for me to grow up in Mom's house. Mom was a great student. She was incredibly bright and intelligent, and she would devour textbook information. It always bothered her that when she had dropped out of college, and never finished her education. So she went back to school. While I was in junior high and high school, Mom was in college. She started by taking one class at a time at Harper. She didn't really have plans to do anything with her education, but she just loved school and loved learning, and she wanted to do this for herself. When time permitted, maybe she took 2 classes in a semester. She went year-round, and she got A's in every class. She made friends, even though all of the other students were half her age. There were study groups around our dining room table, and the race was on. Who would graduate from college first, Mom or me? Stay tuned. The week after I left for college, my dad left. The 2 men closest to her in her life left her within a week of each other. It was a very dark and difficult time in her life. I had it the easiest because I was out of the house most of the time. Not so for my sisters. I guess I didn't realize at the time just how difficult it was. Communication wasn't what it is today. Long-distance calls were expensive, and letter writing took time that I really didn't have when I was in college. The reboot of the education that Mom began for fun became the foundation for the career that she would need in order to support herself for the next 40 years. Still wondering who graduated first? Mom and I both got our bachelor's degrees in 1983, but she didn't stop there. Mom got her master's in social work in 1985, leaving me in her dust. And this achievement jump-started a wonderful and incredibly fulfilling career for her as a social worker. Mom was fortunate to find love again, not once, but twice. She and Stuart, her second husband, were together for a number of years, but were only married for a short time as Stuart took ill and passed far too young. They got married at our house. Ruth made a very special day for them, and they so enjoyed it. Mom kept close with his children, who remain part of our lives today. Mom and Howard married in 2001. Mom asked me to sing at their wedding. Are the stars out tonight? I don't know if it's cloudy or bright. I only have eyes for you, dear. Howard is a kind and gentle man who only knows how to give. April would have been their 23rd wedding anniversary. Howard spent much of the past 5 years or so as Mom's caregiver. We moved them back home from California when she became too much for Howard to handle on his own. A move that maybe we should have made a bit sooner, but Mom needed specialized help. We realized that, and so did Howard. Howard, there are so many things I should have told Mom when I had the chance. I should have told her how proud I was of her, how incredible she was as a mom, as a friend, as a wife, as a person. I should have told her how grateful I've always been for her unconditional love and support. I should have called her more. I should have said, I love you more. I should have hugged her more and kissed her more, even though I hated when she would come at me with the sounds and the flapping lips. It was always lip kisses with Mom. She was a wonderful human and a great mom. I should have told her how much I appreciated, respected, and loved her. So before I fail to tell you, thank you so much for all that you have meant to Mom over the past 25 years. Thank you for being at her side. Thank you for going to sleep next to her at any time of day or night. And for waking up next to her. Thank you for holding her hand and holding her purse and fetching her cane, which you affectionately call the husband beater. Thank you for shopping and cooking and cleaning. Thank you for loving our children and our grandchildren. Thank you for becoming a part of our family with or without Mom. We appreciate you more than you could ever know. And thank you for making Mom so happy all these years. Mom, we will help to take care of your How-How. He is family, and we will miss you. Your impression on those who know and love you has been indelible. The memories that your children and grandchildren have will last a lifetime. And the love that we have for you will never fade. I want to thank my sister Jill. It would have been very easy for her to bow out of the process, seeing as how she lives 2,500 miles from here. But she didn't. She claimed as her tasks anything that could be done from afar. She moved Mom to Brookdale from California. She handled the doctors, the nurses, the medications. She ordered clothes. She was at the other end of FaceTime calls every time we visited Mom, making sure to let Mom know how loved she was. Thank you, Jill, for everything that you did for Mom. And I also want to thank Ruth. You have been a daughter to Mom, and you have treated her as if she was your mom. You led the charge when it came to packing her up and moving her back to Chicagoland. Certainly a horrible few days that you will never forget. You took care of her needs while she was at Brookdale, whatever they were. You shopped for her, you sat with her, you took care of her finances, and you loved her. And you did so many more things of which I am unaware. Mom always made it very clear to me that if anything were to happen to us, she was sticking with you. Can't say that I blame her. Thank you for everything that you did for Mom. I couldn't have made it through this without you, your support and your love, all of which I continue to count on every day. I love you. Ever since Mom passed, a song keeps running through my head. I haven't thought of it in years, and now it just won't leave me alone. It's from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. There's one more angel in heaven. There's one more star in the sky. Mother will never forget you. It's tough, but we'll try to get by. There's one less place at our table. There's one more tear in my eye. Mother, the things that you stood for, like truth and light, never die. I love you, Mom.
Now we'll hear from the grandchildren.
Just leave this up here. All right. Should be easy to follow. Our Bubbe loved us and her 5 great-grandchildren a bushel and a peck. She gave wet kisses and the best hugs, which always included a back scratch and one extra squeeze at the end with a... We always knew that our Bubbe would do anything in the world for her angel girls and angel boy.
She made it a point to be incredibly present in our lives, always attending birthdays, sporting events, recitals, and graduations. She also wanted us to take part in her, She wanted us to take part in her life. I was so honored when she asked me as an 11-year-old to be her maid of honor when she married Grandpa How How. It was so exciting and special to be part of their beautiful love. But it wasn't always just about her. She had a passion for women's rights and empowerment. She would absolutely not tolerate anyone using the term boobs, their breasts. And she enthusiastically participated in a long-term health and dietary study to benefit women's cardiac health. She held many views that were considered very progressive for her time and took great pride in going back to earn her degree to become a social worker. Leading by example, she instilled in me the importance of having a career while raising a family, and she could not have adored my kids more. She took so much joy and pride in telling everyone about her great-grandchildren and how absolutely perfect they were. I will forever cherish the videos I have of her singing to and playing with my kids.
If we couldn't be together for birthdays, we always knew that she'd give us a call and sing her heart out. She would even attempt the impossible task of harmonizing with Grandpa How How. And I would sit on the end of the phone with a smile on my face. If we ever missed one of her calls, a sweet voicemail would be waiting for us. Except for Brad, whose voicemails were filled with Jewish Bubbe guilt. Just this week, we realized that we all have saved dozens of her voicemails over the years. Being able to listen to her voice helps fill the void that losing her has created. As we reflected on our most prominent memories of our Bubbe, we kept coming back to food. Every mealtime resulted in something landing on her shirt. As she always said, my shirt is hungry too. Her diet never stopped her from asking for just a taste. She absolutely loved chocolate, and somehow that just a taste would turn into a clean dessert plate and a stained shirt.
We'll always appreciate that Bubbe brought her family together, particularly on an Alaskan cruise to celebrate her 70th birthday. We became regulars at the piano bar, and Bubbe developed a shtick with the pianist, which strategically resulted in the entire bar singing happy birthday to her every single night. She never had a problem being the center of attention. Speaking of music, Bubbe loved to sing and whistle tunes as they popped into her head, though we usually never knew the songs. While music was her strong suit, style, not so much. Bubbe would roll out of bed no earlier than 10 a.m. and emerge in her muumuu and slippers, cane in hand, with her naturally long painted nails. She had shoulder pads in a can, the epitome of fashion, drawn-on eyebrows, and famously wore a thick white or tan visor any time she went outside. Another skill of Bubbe's was her passion for learning and sharing our family history. Those conversations would be sprinkled with Yiddish words and phrases, demonstrating the pride she had in passing down her knowledge of our heritage. During these talks, she would also highlight how she mostly loved being our Aunt Sandy's baby sister.
We have vivid childhood memories of spending time at Bubby's house on Cypress Lane, whether it be her beloved rocking chair from Costa Rica, her incredibly stale walnuts, her strawberry hard candy, her tomato garden, or her organ. We carry fond memories of those visits. In Bubby's mind, nearly everything good in us came from her. Our blue eyes, shared initials, the fact that Alisa's middle name was Claire after Bubby's beloved mother. One shared experience that did not bring her joy, however, was us fighting simultaneous cancer battles in 2007 and 2008. Of everything I went through during that experience, the biggest single challenge may have been delivering the news of my diagnosis to Bubby while she was in the hospital receiving cancer treatment. She was completely devastated, but her stubbornness and tenacity inspired me, and we made the best of the situation, even making light of our chemotherapy baldness by taking photos of us shaving our heads together. After we successfully closed that chapter, our shared cancer experience became a great source of pride and identity for Bubby. We are so fortunate and blessed for the relationship we each had with our Bubby and the immense impact she had on our lives and on so many others. She was an incredibly special lady, and she will be sorely missed. We love you, Bubby, a bushel and a peck.
You all spoke so incredibly beautifully. And there were so many things that stuck out from our conversation the other day. And Rick, you said it beautifully, I think. When you met Jill and then you met Brenda, you knew automatically that this was a family of which you wanted to be a part. And it's so evident why you would say that. And as I said to you all the other day, the love that Brenda grew up with from the moment I think she was born, childhood and family living with each other and in each other's lives was the way in which she wanted to have her own family. And it's a testament to her legacy and to all she built. Because it's clear that she passed that on to all of you, and that you hold it so deeply, and that as she was able to find love again and again, and her family expanded and expanded, she just had love to hold whoever came into her life and embrace you with just beautiful, beautiful love and open arms. Indeed, she leaves behind a legacy of which to be proud, one of tremendous love and family, one of generosity and incredible friendship, one of unapologetic affection consisting of long, huge hugs and kisses, one of determination and feistiness, one of confidence, strength, feminism. She would tell you to speak your mind. She wasn't afraid to let you know what she was thinking. She was open and honest, loving and giving of praises. And as you heard, she would tell you that your greatest attributes came from her. We often say that the only difference between people is whether or not they've had love in their lives. And Brenda, well, we know that she grew up surrounded by love, and through that she learned love and in turn taught all of you that you should expect nothing less. And you should settle for nothing less. And from what we have all seen here today, you live her values and her ideals, and I know that you will continue to do so. May her memory be for a blessing. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When you are weary and in need of strength, you will remember her. When you are lost and sick at heart, you will remember her. When you have joys you yearn to share, you will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. I invite you, if you're able now, to please rise for El Malay Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamarumim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im HaKedoshim uTehorim, Kezohar HaRakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Bashama Shabbat William Beclair, Shalachal Le'olama. Malay Rachamim, Yastirei HaBeseter Kanafav, Le'olamim B'Yitzrar HaChayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Brenda, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. We say together, Amen. We'll join together in words of Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Kadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Chirute v'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabbah Mavarach la'olam ulalmei almaya, Yit barach v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemed kudsha barichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'necham ata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום. שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us. And we say, Amen. You may be seated.
This does conclude the memorial service for Mrs. Terry. A Shiva luncheon will begin now and will continue until 2 p.m. in our building. You just walk across the lobby, and everyone is invited. At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise as the family is escorted first across the lobby. Please rise.